Welcome to Second Earth Discovery. This is Felipe. So as you probably noticed, we've been segmenting the episodes in Discovery or News. I just thought it would be more appropriate to clearly delineate the type of episodes we're showcasing, and it's going to be easier to create playlists in the end. And in time, I'll create thumbnails. That way you can recognize which one is which just by simply looking at it. Now that I got that across, I wanted to quickly mention what many might be thinking regarding the last episode. What were you thinking, dude? So my goal was to basically showcase the different methods of propaganda, and there's all kinds of psychological literature as you see all these citations. So I was trying to kind of figure out how to create all these citations, how to showcase all these studies, which are typically very boring to read, into kind of like a more integrated, more easy to handle manner. And yeah, I'll be honest, this one is kind of a miss. And I have no problem admitting when execution doesn't quite equate to what I was expecting. But if you haven't seen it, I'm not necessarily recommending it. But if you have the courage or the stomach to see something that's comedic or lack thereof, I guess go for it. So that's something that you'll get with this channel, is a bit of honesty. In regards to that, I do want to talk about this article from Coast to Coast talking about the lake monster, Ogopogo. So just like most of the viewers, I'm a person who really enjoys a good mystery. The only thing is that if you're looking for Santa Claus, then sorry, this is not a channel to go to. We really try to be straight here. It's the only way that we're going to get to the bottom of certain mysteries while holding an inch of credibility. I do feel a duty to get to the heart of certain mysteries, and I understand it's not going to create the views. It doesn't necessarily rake the clickbait money, but unlike Coast to Coast, which never debunk, they just present and presents and presents in hopes of gathering the biggest possible audience, and then the people can believe whatever they want. That's fine. That is a model of representing things, but that's not how we do things here at Second Earth. So what I want to do is go over this article. Hiker in Canada spots Ogopogo. Now, if you don't know what Ogopogo is, it's a Loch Ness type monster, as you see from this image, in BC, British Columbia. And apparently there's folklore with natives, there is sightings of this supposed monster, and there are some interesting images. And so let's just start off with this article and read what it says here. A woman visiting Canada's Okanagan Lake earlier this week believes that she may have spotted the site's legendary monster, Ogopogo. According to a local media report, the intriguing sighting occurred on Monday morning as Andrea was hiking in an area overlooking the massive body of water. Her peaceful commune with nature was shattered when she suddenly noticed a strange disturbance on the lake. "I saw something trashing or something in the water," she recalled. "It was huge, it was black, and it was moving pretty fast, and it had a wake behind it." So just to pause real quick, here is the image that they provided. Interesting, says very freaky, blah, blah. Okay, so reading further. Andrea went on to note that the creature, whatever it was, submerged itself, then re-emerged, pulling a wake behind it. It then submerged itself again and disappeared. She stressed that there were no boats on the water at the time. "I saw birds dive bomb this thing as well." Now that's interesting, because if she saw birds dive bomb, it could be something that's biological. Continuing. Looking back on the sighting, which she recalled freaky, Andrea is bewildered by the whole experience, musing that there was something weird going on at the lake that morning. Regarding what the oddity could have been, although she conceded that it might have been a sturgeon, we're going to go back to this explanation in a second, the sheer size of the animal seemed to make her question that assessment. We're also going to address that question regarding the size. Alas, as is often the case with such wondrous events, Andrea only thought to snap a picture near the end of the sighting, and unfortunately her photo, as seen below, is fairly hard to decipher due to both the timing and her distance from the water. It is hard to decipher, but I think we did figure out this mystery, so we're going to go over that in just a second. Be that as it may, whatever she witnessed left an impression on her, as she declared, "I definitely would not be jumping off the boat in the middle of the lake this summer. There's no freaking way." Actually, given what we discovered, I would agree with that. You don't necessarily have to jump in a lake that might have something that is monstrous. Now, is it a prehistoric Plesiosaur? I don't think so. So I want to go back to the Wikipedia article just to kind of give you a sense of why there is a tale of this monster. Right away, the thing that gave away that this is probably not a Plesiosaur, it says here, named after the First Nations of people who first inhabited the area, it was created, talking about the lake, when glaciers flooded a valley 10,000 years ago. So if this lake was only 10,000 years old, then there's no way that this could be a plesiosaur. It has to be a modern creature. Yes, and there's some native lore with the Sekawepink and the Styalic natives regarding the Ogopogo. One thing that I found kind of interesting is one of their tales. It says here, upon entering the lake on a canoe with his family, Naitaka whipped up the surface of the lake with his long tail, and the canoe and its occupants were sucked to the bottom of the lake. Whipped up the surface of the lake with his long tail. That sounds almost like a physical phenomenon. And then when I quickly researched, I realized that indeed, this lake has been known to support a whirlpool, ladies and gentlemen. Let me show you here. So here is a slightly augmented version of what is thought to be a whirlpool. So if this lake, which used to be a glacier, has a formation or crack underneath or some kind of fissure that essentially creates a whirlpool every once in a while, this could explain some of the native legends. So I decided to quickly search Google to see if there are any sturgeons in the lake, and actually I found a really useful Reddit post. Do sturgeons exist in Okanagan Lake? The subject has always been a yes or no answer. What I'm finding is that Okanagan Lake did once contain sturgeons, but when the tributary near the Okanagan was dammed, it blocked any route for the sturgeon to get back in. Now, if you don't know, sturgeons can actually get pretty big and they live a pretty long life. So the question is, could this lake have a creature that looks like this? And this post seems to indicate that it's a yes or a no, meaning they block the passages for sturgeons to get in, but there could be sturgeons that are still lingering in the lake from as far back as 1968. So as he says here, a local guy with a sailing boat told me they do exist in Okanagan, but then a local fisherman said they do not. So, and then his conclusion added was they probably do exist in the lake, but in such a low population, such a deep, massive lake, it's nearly impossible to find anything about them. Now, this is a really interesting reply because it might explain a lot of what we're witnessing here. There are stories that the divers who placed the concrete anchors for the first floating bridge was spooked all to hell by 30 feet sturgeon passing overhead. Some swore off diving in the lake altogether. So that's why the so-called Andrea said, I will not be diving in this lake. I'm like, you know what? That's fine. Because if it is a 30-foot sturgeon, I wouldn't be diving there either, because I don't know what that thing is going to be eating. It's a very deep, very old lake. I'm surprised that there has not been an autonomous robotic exploration of it yet. Look, there might be something peculiar in the lake. There could be an unusually large sturgeon that has very little competition that has been growing for the last 5 decades. That is possible. If it is a giant sturgeon and the lake contains a whirlpool, I think this would actually help explain a lot of what's going on with this whole lake and this monster. So I decided to take that image that she provided and see if there's anything that we can do with it. And here it is. It's very, very small, but of course we have our methods of enhancing the image. And when we do enhance it, check this out. So it definitely looks like there's something there. It looks like there's something biological there. And she said that she saw birds swooping down. And look at this. When I did a comparison of what a sturgeon might look like, well, check out what the head of a sturgeon looks like. Let me increase that for you to see more clearly. Do you see the triangular type of head, the kind of beak nostril? And you can almost see a fin over here as well. And let me show you the total body, and this will even clarify it even more. Look at that. You see these little white spikes right here? I swear this thing is protruding little white spikes. It's tough to tell, but this, anytime when you enhance something that's really grainy, it's going to be tough to tell, but it's definitely well within the realm of it possibly being a sturgeon. I would say that there is almost a body composition. It's almost like you can see a tail or fin over here. You can notice this spiky little white type patterns. I would put a very high probability that this is indeed a sturgeon. Now the question is, the big mystery is, how big is this sturgeon, and is this something that is unusually large? So in conclusion, I would say Ogopogo is as real as my dog's toy. Like I said, if you're looking for Santa Claus, you can go ahead and find different channels. This one, we're just going to give you the truth as we see it, regardless of the clickbait mentality of whether we're going to make money or not. that's just what it is. I'm just going to tell you the truth, whether it's a UFO or not a UFO, whether Bigfoot's real or not, whether there are sturgeons that are being mistaken as plesiosaurs. That's what you're going to get, ladies and gentlemen. The cut and dry attempt to get to the facts. And yes, I do believe in Bigfoot, if you're wondering. That's something that we're going to have to actually do an episode on soon. And if you have any evidence, Bigfoots, plesiosaurs, UFO, anything that is of interest to you that you would like us to analyze for a potential future episode, please email me at EaFiles.contact@gmail.com. I know there are a few people who have already submitted images. Don't worry, I have not forgotten about you. I'm just trying to figure out how to process the episode. Thank you so much for following me. This is Felipe speaking, signing out.